Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Sam with Common Photography. Today we're going to be talking about lenses and what exactly you want to look for in a lens, buying it used or buying it new. So let's jump right into this. Okay, so we're going to be going over a lens that I own. It's in the bottom right hand corner. We're going to go through each one of the different things written on it just so you know exactly what it is. The first thing, it says Canon. Just to keep in mind, there are several different brands of lens manufacturers. The three we're going to go over here are the most common for Canon, and that's Canon, of course, Sigma, and Tamron. So when you're looking for these on eBay or even on Craigslist, what you need to look for, instead of the brand of lens, look for compatible brands. It's a little bit lower on the thing, and it'll pop up everything that works with a Canon camera. Okay, so zoom. There's two different types of lenses, prime and zoom. Prime has a fixed focal length, zoom has an adjustable focal length. So really what that means to you as the consumer is zoom, you can zoom in on things. Prime, you have to physically move closer. That's about all that is. Okay, here's where we start getting into something very important when you're buying a used lens, and that's the lens mount. So there's three different types of lens mounts we're going to talk about. EF, which is made for all Canon lenses, but it's specifically designed for a full frame camera, but it'll work on your crop sensor that are recommended from the camera body section just fine. And then EF-S, which only works for crop sensors. I mean, I would get this, it's a great lens, it'll work great on crop sensors, but if you ever feel like you're gonna upgrade to a full frame, you wanna go pro, want a full frame camera, I would avoid EF-S lenses. Another one to, in my opinion, super avoid is FD mounts. Now, FD mounts were the mounts used on the old film Canon cameras. So what you have to have is you need an adapter, the autofocus doesn't work, it's just a mess. Stay away from it, unless you want a really cheap prime lens and willing to do the manual focus. And you gotta watch out, because sometimes on eBay, I've noticed a lot of people will, instead of saying FD mount, they'll say, oh, I don't know what it is, but the manual focus doesn't work. So that's a telltale sign of an old FD mount, or it might even say 35 millimeter camera. So look out for both those things. The next thing we're going to talk about is focal length. On this lens that we have pictured in the bottom right, it's 70 to 200 millimeter. The higher the number, the more zoom. The lower the number, less zoom, the more wide angle. Anything below 20 millimeters is considered a wide angle. Anything above 70 millimeters is considered a telephoto lens. Okay, the next thing on the lens is going to be its aperture. So it's sometimes referred as f-stop. That's usually how you see it. But really on this lens, you can't really tell in the picture, but it's 1:2.8. Everything before the colon doesn't really matter. It's just referring to the f-stop. 2.8 is the most important thing right there. And it means that the aperture is at 2.8, which is the best you can get for a zoom lens. If it has a dash, like 2.8 after the colon, 2.8-3 or any other number, that means at different focal lengths, it's gonna have a different aperture. The lower the number, the better the lens. Although, you know, that can be changed, you know, based on caliber of glass, caliber of other stuff. But 2.8 is the best for zoom. If you're looking for a prime lens, anything 2.8 or below is good. Don't go for something that's a prime that only goes to 3 or something. That's just crazy. So 2.8 is best. But really, anything in there, as long as it's not like 7 or 10, anything above 10, don't buy something above 10. That's crazy. Okay, so the next thing on the lens is this little L, and that is it's Canon's Pro Series lens. So Pro Series is usually just the best that a brand has to offer. So it'll have the best glass, it'll do the best, sharpest image, and it can really mean the difference between like a $1,500 lens or like the comparable non-professional Pro Series being $200. So it's something to look out for. If you can find a Pro Series, go for it. Sometimes you can find them pretty cheap, as cheap as the standard brand, but for each brand, there's a different letters. So Canon, it's L, Sigma, EX, Tamron SP. So another thing to look out for on eBay is a lot of these people will forget to put the L in there. And what you need to look for on lenses, like this is a white lens with that red ring there. There's black ones with red ring, but Canon red rings are Pro Series. So they'll be the best. So, and I think Tamron and Sigma are gold rings, but don't quote me on that. I think I have a Tamron Pro Series SP and it's got a gold ring. So anything Pro Series means it's expensive, but it will be better. Okay, so the next thing on this lens is IS, which stands for Image Stabilizer. This is best described by going to the Tamron version VC vibration control, and this is a feature on the lens that allows you to have a little bit of shake in your hand and still come out with a very sharp image. It's really important in any telephoto lens to have this, but if you're not planning on using a telephoto lens very often, you're gonna stick to mostly wide-angle shots, you can get away without image stabilizer by using a monopod or something else, because a lot of image stabilizers will add significant amount of money to the price of your lens. So if you're not looking to use it a lot, image stabilizer is something I don't feel like you really need or must have. Okay, so last thing on this lens is USM, and USM is the Ultrasonic Motor. It's the motor that controls the focus on the camera, the autofocus. Without USM on a mechanical, just regular motor, it makes a little buzzing noise. This just focuses silently. That's what it means. Okay, for this next slide, we're going to have a dual purpose. I'm going to show you the way eBay, like titles will show what the lens is. So the first one on top, I don't know if you can read it, but I'm going to say it for you, is Canon EF 75 to 300 millimeter f-4-5.6, then 3 telephoto zoom lens for Canon SLR cameras. So it's Canon brand. EF is the mount, as we discussed before, 75 to 300 millimeters, so it's a telephoto, and F is 4-5.6, which means at 75 millimeters it's 4, and at 300 millimeters it's at 5.6. And the 3 means it's the third generation of this lens. More generations usually means more expensive, and telephoto zoom lens for Canon SLR cameras. So this lens is $89.95. That's actually a pretty good deal. But below it, we're gonna go with genuine Canon EF 70 to 300 millimeter f4-5.6 2 IS USM DSLR camera. So Canon brand, EF mount, 70 to 300 millimeters is the focal length, and it's got the exact same aperture, and it's the second generation of this lens. So and it's worth about $380. You're probably wondering, why is it $300 more? Is it that 5 millimeter length? Is that really that big of a deal? No, you gotta look at this other stuff. IS USM. We discussed this earlier, and that is image stabilizer and ultrasonic motor. So it will be able to be a steadier shot at a longer distance, and it will be quiet. In my opinion, ultrasonic motor, not important. If you are using 300 millimeters, a bird wouldn't even hear you. That's how far away 300 millimeters can zoom. So not super necessary. IS is nice, but also, again, if you're looking to buy something that you're not going to use that often, you could go for the $90 option in a $15 bipod, or a really expensive a $200 bipod. You'd still be under the price. And a lot of this stuff, like, if you're going to look for something above the $150 range, I would do a little bit of like searching, find some Sigma, find some Tamron with all the different features you want, because a lot of the times vibration control is cheaper than image stabilizer. Okay, so that's my video on lenses. Now you know what you need to look for to buying a used lens. So now that you have all your stuff, on our next video, we're going to go through some of the settings on the camera. The first thing we're going to talk about is ISO and exposure. So that's something to look forward to on the next video. If you'd like to see some of my artwork, some of my photography, you can follow me on Instagram under Gomper Photography, and please subscribe to my videos if you want to see more stuff on how your camera works and exactly going from very new beginners to extreme. I'll teach you everything I know, all on video, so please subscribe.